scheduled the sewer discussion for this evening for Old Flanders, and due to the tragic events in Flanders yesterday with the house fire, we have now changed that to March 19th. And so I'd like everyone to please stand, Pledge of Allegiance, and also a moment of silence for the lives that were lost yesterday in Mount Olive, and in appreciation for all of our volunteers who so fought that fire tremendously.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Lashway, would you please read the Open Public Meeting Act announcement?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Here.
Mr. McCastro?
Here.
Mr. Perkins? Mr. Roman?
Here.
Mr. Walsh? Mr. Mania? Mrs. Laybow?
Here. Let the record reflect, please, that Mr. Mania is on vacation. Mr. Walsh and Mr. Perkins are away on business this evening. And first on our agenda, hold on a second. Got to turn to the right agenda. Is this the? Oh, okay. This is the. Oh, okay. Sorry. We're going to have, first on our agenda, our traffic analysis. Mr. Galante is going to make a presentation for us. And just state your name and address for the record when you get to the microphone. Does he have a microphone? Okay. Very good. Just for the record, Mr. Galante is a resident on Stevens State Park Road, and he is making a presentation for the reduction of speed on that road, and it's all yours.
Please. Good evening.
Good
Once
evening.
again, my name is Rich Galante. I'm a resident of 83 Stevens State Park Road. I'm here to provide you with additional commentary in support of Ordinance 2-2013. I know you folks have a lot on your plate tonight, so I'm going to move very quickly. By now, you've received correspondence from Teddy Granke, Maria Ogden, and Tom Scarpone indicating their support for the ordinance. Teddy and Tom indicated to you that there have been multiple motor vehicle impacts to their property. On to the first page. This is the photo of the second radar speed display that I deployed at a cost of nearly $5,000. From a rhetorical perspective, what would drive a parent to do this? Next page. This is a study from the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. The study reveals that a pedestrian struck by a vehicle traveling 40 miles an hour has an 80% chance of dying. A pedestrian struck by a vehicle traveling 20 miles an hour has an 8% chance of dying. Homeowners insurance manages damage to my property. There are not enough tranquilizers in this world to manage a loss involving my son. Next page, please. This is my son, our pride and joy, the great treasure of our clan. Members of the council, when you look at him, what do you see? Well, council members, this is the face of autism. What does this have to do with 2-2013? Next page, please. My son's disorder renders him incapable of discerning threats to his safety, including a speeding car. He is in the Mount Olive Preschool Disabled Program. His therapy costs me $3,000 per month out of pocket. It is the best money I have ever spent. This is a direct quote from a report from his treating physician. John is not his real name, by the way. John needs to work on safety awareness and impulse control. He may engage in the same activity even if the original outcome is not positive. Parents are concerned because they live on a busy road and are afraid he may run into the street. This is from his doctor more than 3 months prior to the incident of December 31st, one of 4 motor vehicle impacts to my property. Final page. Council members, when you examine the characteristics of this road, narrow width, sharp curves, limited sight distance, the deployment of 2 radar speed displays, the Mount Olive Police deployed their own radar speed trailer and distributed flyers to local residents. They've conducted over 700 directed patrols. Considering the police recommendations and that of the town engineer, 7 motor vehicle accidents within a 300-yard stretch, and a child who does not realize that a speeding car can kill him. My son will face enough challenges in his life. Being struck by a car in his own property should not be one of them. For my son's safety and that of my neighbors, I'm asking you to please pass 2-2013. Thank you.
Any questions from the council? Mr. Roman?
Mr. Galante, you had alluded to that there were 7 accidents within a 300-yard area of your residence.
That's correct.
Could you tell me how many of those were attributed to speed?
Let's see. I could not directly attribute any of them to speed. I did not witness them. I did not witness them transpiring.
Well, here, if bear with me, if I could help you out.
Please.
Starting in 2009, of the 7 accidents that are reported in that area, 4 were caused by driver inattention, 2 by animal action, and 1 by road conditions being ice.
Okay. Well,
And it's an email that I received from Chief Spitzer indicating as such.
thank you for your question. The incidents I'm referring to predate 2009.
So of the incidents that predate 2009, do you have any idea what caused those? Would they be anomalous to the items presented from 2009?
Well, I'll give you an example, Mr. Roman, of one of the incidents. I moved into my house on November 18th, 2000. That was a Saturday. And that Monday night, I was coming back from picking up some takeout food. And coming back down the road, there was quite a commotion with fire trucks, EMS, and police vehicles. I thought it was just an oddity and passed by. This was an impact to the property of Tom Scarpone, 58 Stevens State Park Road. Okay. Can I attribute that directly to speed? No. Okay. But in my opinion, sir, when you take into consideration limited sight distance, elevation changes, sharp curves, a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit is simply not appropriate. That's my opinion.
And based on one of your charts here, you say that 20 miles an hour would be impact to a pedestrian. I guess the risk of injury or fatality goes down to about 5%. Are you, based on this, are you proposing, would you indicate that 20 miles per hour would be the preferred speed limit on that road?
I understand the council has introduced a resolution at 25 miles an hour, which I am in agreement with.
So you would not be in favor of a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit?
Well, I cannot say that I would be, but I had seen that 25 miles an hour was the appropriate speed limit for residential areas, according to my readings of the statute, which admittedly may not be completely correct.
Okay. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Yes.
Council President, may I suggest Mr. Galante's comments and his report, this is during the workshop, and the ordinance itself is up for final public hearing tonight. So if it's okay with the governing body, can we take this report at this time in the comments and incorporate them as part of the public hearing tonight, so that, this is all reflected. Mr. Galante can certainly speak during the public hearing, but he's gone through this report in a very, very clear manner that you might want to incorporate it right now, as long as there's that consensus.
I definitely would love to see this in public
Absolutely.
record.
Okay.
Any other council comments? Mr. Roman, were you finished?
Yeah, I was done, thank you.
Anybody else? Would you like to add any other comments, Mr. Galante?
No, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Great, thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you. Alrighty, next on our agenda, Class 2 Special Officer, Enforcement Officer. Chief Spitzer? Sorry. You just look so mayoral.
I guess you've all seen the proposed ordinance. I could get a little bit of background. It certainly is timely in response to the Newtown, Connecticut shootings, but it's not the only reason that I've proposed this idea. We had, as you all know, we had two school resource officers several years ago. We had one in the middle school and we had one in the high school. For reasons of economy, we've removed those police officers. But since that time, Joe Kluska has retired from the police department. He was the police officer that was assigned to the high school. He's since been hired by the Board of Ed to be a security guard up at the high school. In his position, so now he is an ununiformed and an unarmed person. The thought was raised when he first left about possibly making him a special officer and some other officers as well. It just seems to me that in light of what's going on in the world, that when we have somebody with Joe Kluska's caliber, who is he's already at the high school, he's working full-time up there, that simply making him a special police officer would give him the opportunity to be armed and to appear in a Mount Olive Township Police uniform and fall within our rules and regulations still in the Mount Olive Township Police Department. To do so, we did a little research, and you're allowed to do that. We had special officers here many years ago. You're allowed to have up to 20% of the size of your force can be special officers, but only one can be a full-time officer. So it's having Joe Kluska particularly in mind that I bring this ordinance forward. So I'd be willing to answer any questions you have on that.
Anyone? Mr. Roman?
Okay.
Well, first off, Chief, let me applaud you for taking the initiative and proposing to turn Mr. Kluska into a special officer. Will Mr. Kluska be in uniform, or will he maintain his civilian clothing while on duty?
That's a choice of. I'd be willing to work that out with the Board of Ed. It's my understanding that he would be in uniform, and that it would be uniform position, carrying a weapon, an exposed weapon, and a bulletproof vest and the whole thing. It would look just like a special officer has. The other advantage of having a special officer over a civilian security officer is that they have arrest powers. They have all the powers that a regular police officer has. So they enjoy all those powers as well. So it's my opinion that would be the best way to do that. But it doesn't mean that he couldn't dress down for certain occasions, just like a police officer here does.
And would his funding be coming solely from the Board of Ed?
It's my understanding that would be the case. I certainly don't have any funding in my budget to do so now. So in my discussions with Larry Reynolds, I proposed that he's being paid by them already, that the pay would remain from the Board of Ed. For the taxpayer, it's just coming out of a different pocket. But
Thank you.
Mr. Fronte?
Where in the high school would he be located? Is it near the entrance? Is it in the office, or?
yeah, that's a tactical decision also made by the school administration. His duties now are a general patrol of the school. Besides being a security guard, I know that he teaches classes that have to do with law enforcement, so he may be doing that at some times. The deterrent factor is not knowing where he is. Certainly, it would be nice to have an armed guard at the entrance at all the time, but you don't know where somebody's going to enter the school either during the day. So it's kind of a tactical decision to be made in conjunction with the Board of Ed. His office, do you know where his office is now?
No.
He's first floor office, fairly close to the front door, and his office will remain the same. So his office is, as you go through the second set of doors, his office is pretty much right there. And he does patrol the school.
Mayor?
Yeah, while I'm not a big proponent of putting armed police officers in the school generally, I think this is kind of a no-brainer. Simply, it's akin to us putting the SRO back into the school. It's the same individual, and I think that we should summarily approve this.
It's part of the equation to make this happen. Frankly, I'm working on my end over here. I'm assuming that the school is working on their end, and both will have to work together to get it done. So it's my piece that I'm trying to get done here.
I think it's a great idea. Absolutely, 100%. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you like anything else? No? No, you're good? Okay,
Would I
great.
like anything else?
No.
That's all.
Thank you. Alrighty, as I said, we postponed the Old Flanders Sewer discussion for March 19th. Council, do you have any questions about any of the resolutions we have on for this evening? Okay,
There is an amended itinerary with a
Yep.
revised resolution and a new resolution.
the last two on the list. Mayor?
We find out if there's anyone in the audience that is here specifically for the March 9th, the sewer discussion.
Oh, you are?
Did you not
I'm
get
sorry.
word that the discussion was being? Yeah, we put it out in as many forums as we could. We put it, we did reverse 911 calls, we put it on the website. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that we had the fire in the area and there is no particular rush to decide this issue, that we felt that it was best to put it off for the time being. It's an information gathering type of meeting that is being scheduled by council, and anybody is available to speak to Sean, the business administrator, who's been gathering the information at any point up until the meeting, so that when you come to the meeting, you're prepared with whatever information you don't have. So I would suggest that through the township phone system or email that you contact Sean with any particular questions that you might have for the 19th. You'd have to come up, because the microphones can't pick you up. The answer to your question is that Sean is the business administrator. I am the mayor. Sean runs the town on a daily basis. And if you leave a message for Sean through the phone mail system, he will respond to your questions.
Sorry, Mr. Davis, that you didn't get that information.
That's all right.
We also have on our website, it's called Everbridge. You can sign up so you'll get announcements. Your daughter, she'll know how to do it. Get your daughter to do it.
I'll be away the 19th of March, that's why.
Okay, well,
But the bottom line is that no decisions are going to be made on the 19th, so that you will be able to view, it'll be videotaped, you'll be able to watch it. Any questions that you have will be able to be answered during the course, and you'll have an opportunity to participate. It's not like we're trying to jam anything down anyone's throats. It's simply, these are the issues, these are the things that we need to address. We understand the costs that are involved and everyone's concerns about the costs. We understand people's concerns about their current systems, certain people's current system. We understand all of that. We need to gather it, we need to analyze it, and as a group, make a decision which benefits, not everyone's going to have the same opinion on the issue. It's clear.
For sure.
Okay.
Mr. Davis, this does not bar you at all from speaking tonight if you wish to
Yeah,
speak on
if
that
you-
issue.
No, that's all right, I didn't know this was gonna happen.
Okay.
oh,
I'll talk the next time with
okay.
her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did, Mr. Davis, hold on, did you get the packet of information regarding it?
In my file.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks.
And, sir, you were also here for the?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Thank you. Alrighty. On the resolutions, any? See, no, Mr. Roman.
I just want to highlight resolution number 8 regarding the improvements to the Dan Jordan Fields. This is just one of the examples of how our sports organizations, in cooperation with this administration, are greatly improving our property. And for those of you that may not be aware, we will be hosting a very large regional baseball, softball tournament coming up, and this is in preparation for that tournament.
Very good. How did it go with figuring out where the stand was going to go and what needed to be done, Mr. Canning?
They, there's a short amount of time, but we're gonna make it work.
Okay, good.
They are set preliminarily for a cursory review at the next planning board session, which is in 2 nights. In
Okay.
the meantime, I've been working closely with the association, and they have some donated contractors, some donated material. The big hurdle that at least the administration is facing is the approval of these funds. On March 5th, I have to bring the memorandum of understanding to this governing body. I hope to have it on tonight. There's a few logistical items we had to get through, and we just didn't make the deadline for this meeting. Irregardless, it's not going to have any effect on the end outcome. And the only hurdle I'm facing is March 26th is when these funds become available. To make sure we have an agreement in place by then, delivery that morning, that's the very first date that we can take that. The association is aware of that, and we're going to, like we said last meeting, we'll do what we have to do to make it work.
Is that because you have to wait till March 5th to get that?
No, it's
Oh.
the funding, the bonding mechanism under New Jersey law, even though tonight is the second reading, we have to publish it. Or it's introduced tonight after the March 5th meeting. If we assume publication on the morning of the 6th, those funds do not become available no matter what under New Jersey law
Okay.
until March 26th. So that's as of 8:31 that morning, we'll get whatever we have to get done.
Okay. Because I was just going to say, if need be, if we had to have a special meeting, but you say it's not going to make a
Yeah,
difference.
It's just a funding mechanism on the
Okay.
bond ordinance.
Very good, thank you. Ordinances, anybody have any questions, concerns? All righty.
If I may,
Yeah.
Madam President. Obviously, most of you here on council are aware that I voted against the ordinance to decrease the speed limit. Now, I know nobody wants to see a child get hurt. But if we set the precedent of every time somebody in a neighborhood wants to lower the speed limit, we're going to be inundated with requests from all parts of the township. So I caution as to just lowering speed limits without at least having it based on the professional opinion of either our police department or our engineers. That's it.
Just for the record, our professionals and police have recommended this reduction on the speed limit. And also, I'd like to say that with the residents, people who live on a street are the most aware of what is actually going on because they're there all the time. If there's a pothole we're not aware of, they're going to notify us. We're going to go out and fill that pothole because a car hitting that pothole can go out of control, have an accident. We can't be on every street at every minute. Same thing with the residents. They're the ones who are the most aware of how speed is impacting their lifestyle, their families, their sense of safety and security. So we do, in my opinion, we count on our residents to alert us to situations that might need to take a closer look. And I think we have, so far, this is the second one that we're reducing in the past few months. Corey Road was not attributed to the bus accident, but the fact there was a lot of other concerns, people coming out of the area, so on and so forth. And now this one, you have residents who are very concerned on a very tricky road that winds and turns, goes up and down, and I think it is very much appropriate to reduce the speed. I think Mr. Nicastro, did you want to say something?
No, and I agree with you. Residents, like you say, live there. It's their, if it's something that was in the realm and the chief and police agree, I agree with that because the residents are the one that live there and it's their block and they should feel safer, and if that helps them in any way, I'm in agreement with it.
Thank you. Mayor? I'm sorry, Mayor was first, then Mr.
I
Roman.
happen to agree with Alex to a point, not with respect to this particular ordinance. And council has taken the position at certain times that they disagree with the professionals, such as Corey Road.
Right.
Corey Road is a unique example because of its location. In this particular case, I wholeheartedly agree with the police department. I think council's going to make the right decision on this issue. But I agree with Alex that you have to take each particular request on its own, look at the merits, look at what the professionals are saying, and then make the decision on an individual basis, not always agreeing with the residents.
I also agree with what you're saying. Each one, you can't just come and say, I want my speed limit reduced. You really need to have reasoning behind it, and as Mr. Galante did, had done some extensive work on showing why it was, you know, an issue for his family. Mr. Roman?
And I agree, Ms. Leyba, that yes, I want residents to, you know, give their input, you know, because we can't do our job, the administration can't do their job without getting input from residents. But at no point in time has any of the accidents that have been attributed in that stretch of road been caused by speed. You know, driver inattentiveness, animals. That reducing it by 10 miles an hour is not going to change somebody who's texting while they're going around a curve. You know, unless we're, you know, if we're going to put up a sign, you know, don't text while you're driving down a curve, which seems kind of logical, but you know,
Mayor?
again, you know, I will be voting against this ordinance, not because by no means do I wish any ill to Mr. Galante, his property, and obviously to his son, but because in my opinion, that stretch of road, this does not call for 25 miles an hour.
Mayor?
Well, that's certainly a different opinion than the police department gave us, number one. Number two, an analysis of the accidents that have occurred on that stretch of road aren't necessarily the story that we need to consider.
Right.
It's easy to be reactive to a identified problem. It's much more harder to be proactive. The issue was raised. The police department took a look at the issue, and they have determined that although an accident at 35 miles an hour may not have been caused by the speed, that the speed limit was appropriately to be reduced and hopefully avoid an accident in the future because the speed was reduced.
Mhm.
So I think that's really the analysis that council should undertake.
Thank you. I was just going to say also that, you know, it could just very well be that 35 miles an hour going down that street is just a little bit too fast, and if they weren't going 35, there wouldn't have been an accident. You know, so it's you know, we're not there to see it, but this is what has been proposed, and we'll be voting on it at the next meeting. And old business. Anybody have any old business? New business? And actually, while I'm thinking of it right now, I want to ask our attorney, we have 4 people tonight, and this ordinance is for second reading. Will we have a quorum for that? Is it
Majority of those here.
that are here? I just want to make
Yeah.
sure.
Actually, though, I believe the code does say you need 4 votes.
Yeah.
So you know, so the township code does say 4 affirmative votes for an ordinance. So keep that in mind.
Do we have to put it on?
It's a good point, right, Lisa?
Yeah.
We checked that,
It does
so.
say 4.
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily, just the way the code has been written, it wouldn't necessarily then prevail on a vote of 3 to 1. Wouldn't carry.
You specifically checked that, Fred?
Yeah,
It's-
I did it.
Okay.
I did.
'Cause that's not my understanding.
Yeah,
from the past.
I'll do that right now to double check, because I know
Yeah.
it makes a difference this
It
evening.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, whether we have to,
Put it
I
on.
do believe this came up one other time. That's why I wanted to specifically ask him.
So someone's gonna make a motion to table then.
Yeah, we
Right.
have to- if
But
it-
not at-
If
the
I
next
may
meeting.
if I may interject, you know, I understand the consensus on this council, and it would be, and I would not be wanting to be the one to quash this ordinance if the consensus of this council and the administration is to lower that speed limit. So to prevent it from being tabled for another meeting and the outcome being the same, I will at this time respectfully say that I will be voting in the affirmative for the sole purpose of moving the ordinance forward, because that is ultimately what is going to happen.
I appreciate that. You have to be comfortable with that. Okay. Public portion. I now open the meeting to the public, and this is a workshop, therefore it will not be on the minutes as terms of verbatim. So if you'd like, if it's something that needs to be on the actual public meeting, that's coming up in a few minutes. But certainly if you want to get up and speak at this time, you certainly can. If I hear anybody from the public, you want, oh, very good. This lady back here was first, and then Mr. McDonald.
Hi,
Oh, you have to come to the mic, and please state your name and record. your name and address for the record. You're with the Lutheran Social Ministries?
Yeah, I'll just start by saying I don't have a record. But my name is Beth Eichfeld. I'm the Associate Vice President with Lutheran Social Ministries out of Burlington, New Jersey. We are the management company and owners for Mount Olive Manor and Mount Olive 2. We're here tonight, and I want to thank you for allowing us to speak to you. But we are here tonight in response to a five-page letter that was submitted to you with a number of complaints and grievances. I've also submitted to you our response to the originator of that letter. Mount Olive Manor provides 50 units on our Mount Olive 2 and 60 apartments, senior apartments in our Mount Olive Manor. During Hurricane Sandy, our roof was blown off, and all 60 units had to be evacuated as a result of the damage that was done. Our residents were returned to their apartments within 6 weeks. They were home by Christmas. Today I met with the residents that live at Mount Olive Manor, many who have lived there many, many years. 2 women who told me they've been there since the building opened, Mount Olive Manor 1, when it opened in 1993. They're extremely happy. So our point, and I will be brief, is that these allegations are often old, many are erroneous, and we don't find them to be reflective of the people that we serve at Mount Olive Manor. We have a great record regulatory-wise and with the municipality, and we are very proud of the work that we do there. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you do a great job. I've been there several times.
You know what, I just want to tell you that we do have a member of our local board with us, and Carolyn Swenson, who has been the manager there many, many years, so thank you. I agree with you.
The picnic's fun every year, too. It's a wonderful event. All righty. Mr. McDonald? You know the drill. State your name and...
Ed McDonald,
address
Bud
for the
Lake.
record.
Just a question about the special law enforcement officer. First of all, it seems a bit confusing. I mean, on paragraph 5 on the second page, a special law enforcement officer shall be deemed to be on duty only while he is performing the public safety functions on behalf of the township pursuant to New Jersey law, and when he is receiving compensation, if any, from the township at the rates or stipends as shall be established by township ordinance. Does he have to be compensated by the township in some manner for this to take effect, for him to be on duty?
Chief, do you want to?
Come up there. No, it does not have to be compensated directly by the township, but the law is written, it's covered in code, and that is a specific language that's in the New Jersey code. As I understand it, the only way that this is going to go forward is if the Board of Ed funds the position, and it's going to be funded directly from the Board of Ed to Officer Kluska. That's in that exception for the one officer that you're allowed to have paid. It says that the officer can be paid by an outside entity. So that's the only way we'd be doing it. The reason that that's in the state law is because in many other towns, they use special officers as a supplement to the police department. So they do pay special officers in other townships, in other cities, through the town or the city itself. But in this case, that's not going to happen.
So will there be any cost to the township? In other words, for insurance purposes, retirement funds, you name it, is there any cost at all that the township will bear?
The only cost that I could foresee would be in supplying uniforms, the weapon, those types of things, but that's something that's going to be absorbed within the police department budget. We would supply his the uniforms again, any equipment that he used. As far as retirement, he's not a member of the pension system. He's already retired, and He's pensioned out of the system already, so there is no other, he's not in the pension system after that.
Okay. Yeah, seems like a good deal then. Okay,
That's why I call it a no-brainer. It's more of it's a no-brainer for me. It's something that the Board of Ed has to think about. They're going to be paying him, but they already are, so it's their decision to make.
Has this been talked over with the Board of Ed? Are they on board with this?
It's my understanding that they are. The only thing is what the rate of compensation is the only thing that I understand that's still up for discussion, and that's a salary rate to be set by them.
But they are looking to have an armed officer in the...
That's my understanding. It was due to be, I don't know if anybody else knows, if the council rep knows, who's on the Board of Ed rep. But they were going to discuss it several weeks ago, and that meeting was canceled for a storm, so I don't know that they've discussed it since.
Yeah, at the last meeting, I was not aware that it was discussed at that time.
Yeah, no, I've had direct conversations with Larry Reynolds, who has had conversations himself with the Board of Ed. And that's, as I said earlier, I'm just trying to put together my piece of it. If they decide they're not going to do it, then it's not going to happen.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to put my side together with the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. The other matter is the speed limit ordinance. It looks like we've opened the floodgates for residents to want speed limits dropped ever since the one near the high school, which was not really a speed-related situation, but the speed limit was dropped anyway. From what I've heard tonight, speed does not seem to be a factor on this road, a Stevens State Park Road, although everybody seems to think it's most of the people up here seem to think it's a good idea to lower the speed limit. I think this is just going to be more and more people are going to see a car that they perceive as speeding, and they're going to be up here wanting the speed limit dropped. And it's probably very easy for the township engineer or the police department to say, oh, sure, why not? What does it hurt? No harm done by dropping it. But I think it does hurt in the long run. It hurts the general public to have all of these roads reduced again and again just because they may be have a road with a curve or a twisting or a hilly road. The whole township is that way. You can basically describe any road in the township as hilly or having curves. Does that mean every road in the township should maybe be 25 miles an hour? I don't think so. And I'm also puzzled a bit by Alex Roman's mode of action. Alex, if you're against this ordinance, you should vote against it. Or is it I voted for it before I voted against it? And that it seems like this more or less political trickery to do that. Stand up for your beliefs. Don't play games with other people on the council. If you feel something, you should vote that way, not because somebody else in the council may or may not vote a different way. And this is to me, it's crazy to use that logic that I'll vote for it before I vote against it. That type of, I just don't understand it.
Well, if I can explain myself, I voted against it the first time when it was introduced. So my record on that ordinance has already been established. If I vote, as the council was starting to lean forward, they were going to table this ordinance instead of having it killed, which means at the next meeting, it was going to get approved because previous council members have already voted in the affirmative. And I'm not one to just to decide to stop the way this ordinance was going to be developing just so that I can make my stance. It's going to pass. The administration supports it. At last vote, I was the only dissenting vote out of, if I recall, I think it was 5-1. So, I could posture and stop it, or what the council is going
Alex,
to do is more than likely table it.
I
It's
don't-
not, you know what, this is not a hill that I'm looking to die on. I've already made my statements. I made my statements public. I made my vote public. You know, but I'm not, it's not something that, you know, if I could, if it would stop this, you know, ordinance from going forward, I would have voted against it, but I know it's not gonna happen. It's just gonna get tabled. It's gonna get tabled, it goes to the next meeting, and in which case, and then it'll get passed. So why, you know, it's.
Well, then, Alex, if that's what you feel, that it's going to get tabled, I still feel that you were elected to vote your conscience, not the conscience of other people on the council.
I'm not voting the conscience of, I am voting. I've already made my statements, you know, it would be different if I
Okay.
voted in the negative the first time, and then said no qualifying statements as to my opposition as to why, and then this time vote in the affirmative, without at least letting people, you know, understand at least my train of thought. Now, obviously, that train seems to have taken a couple different curves, you know, that's as to why you cannot understand my rationale, but it's gonna happen. I am not, you know, in vast opposition and, you know, greatly offended if that speed limit gets reduced. I stated my reasons why I don't think it should be reduced. You know, not only on this ordinance, but in the one for Corey Road. I'm obviously in the minority, you know, and having it tabled for another 2 weeks, it's in my opinion, it's, you know what, it's gonna pass, let's get it over with.
Okay, well, that's your opinion. Thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Also, the other point on that, Mr. Rum, is the fact that we'd have to re-advertise it, spend more money. We wouldn't have to for a second reading? I'm sorry.
No, I don't believe Fred would answer that question. I don't believe you would. You would simply make a motion to continue the public, as we have in the past, continue
Yes,
the
we don't
public
have to,
portion.
okay.
You don't
Right.
re-advertise. But the question I raised to Fred, and I don't know if you know the answer, the statute, the ordinance that you pointed out talks about the majority of council having to pass an ordinance.
Full membership, right.
Yeah, but with the resignation tonight of Pat, does the council, does it still remain at 4 votes, or is it of the members of council?
You know, only because, as you know, as an attorney, when you experience something, you don't forget it. And I had this issue come up. There's a case out of Clifton in like the early 1950s that said
Stays at
it
4.
still counts as the full membership, even though now there's a vacancy. So, you know, so to answer your question, yes, it still counts. Thanks.
Wow, I can't believe you were able to pull that out of your pocket.
Thank you. So I was glad you asked.
Weren't you surprised I remembered that from the past?
No.
I'm not sure why I remembered it, but I did. Alrighty, anybody else from the public? All right, seeing no one else, I close the public portion. Can I have a motion to adjourn to the public meeting?
So moved.
All-
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All right, moving right along. Going right into our public meeting. Mrs. Lashley, would you please read the Open Publics Meeting Act announcement?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Here.
Mr. Nacastro?
Here.
Mr. Perkins? Mr. Roman?
Here?
Mr. Walsh? Mr. Mania? Mrs. Laybow?
Here. Again, Mr. Mania is on vacation. Mr. Walsh and Mr. Perkins are out of town on business this evening. And before, I'm going to I have an announcement to read, so I'm going to read that now at the beginning of this meeting from Mr. Walsh. Mr. Walsh had an opportunity to take another job, which has brought him out of town quite a bit, and he was trying to make it to a meeting in order to make this announcement personally, and it just hasn't been able to happen. And this is like a really critical time of year for us, at times when our CFO needs to have us approve temporary funds for the budget, and we need a supermajority of 5 votes in order to do that. And with, you know, if anybody should get sick, we have Mr. Maney on vacation. We just really need to have as many of our members as possible. And so without further ado, I'd like to read this letter from from Councilman Pat Walsh, dated February 19, 2013. He writes, "Dear Council President Laybow, members of the council, mayor, and all the citizens of Mount Olive, I've spent the last 3.5 years on the Mount Olive Town Council, and it has been an amazing experience. I first got involved in politics because of the overbearing property taxes in New Jersey. I started by studying property taxes in both New Jersey and other states. I am proud to say that with the help of many members of council, the Mount Olive Town School Board, compromises and sacrifices by township employees and many citizens of Mount Olive together, we were able to halt property tax increases in their tracks. After years of property tax increases averaging 8% per year, we have been able to limit property tax increases to between 1% and 2% for the last 4 years. We started limiting property tax increases even before the state put a 2% cap on property tax increases. Mount Olive has led the way on limiting property tax increases, and it has been recognized throughout New Jersey all the way to Trenton for doing so. Lastly, over the last 4 years, while the first time in the history of the United States the credit rating of the entire country was downgraded, the credit rating of Mount Olive Township has increased. After all this, I unfortunately am not going to be able to finish the last year of my 4-year term. I have taken a new job that requires me to travel very often, and I am just not able to devote the appropriate amount of time to the town council. So as of today, February 19th, 2013, I must resign my position as councilman in Mount Olive, New Jersey. I'd like to thank all of the people that have voted for and supported me over the past 4 years. I have worked very hard to make you proud and do what is right at all times. I make this decision with a heavy heart, but also know that we have accomplished great feats over the past 4 years. I look forward to continued momentum in Mount Olive. There's a smiley face. Thank you again, and may God bless you all, and may God bless the Township of Mount Olive. Very sincerely, Patrick Walsh. We are very sad to see that he has decided to resign, but we certainly understand family does come first, and he is very committed to his responsibilities and knows that resigning at this time is the appropriate action to take. Any questions or concerns, any comments at this time? All right, seeing none. Approval of minutes of previous meetings. We have none tonight. Oh, we do. Hold on. Sorry, I was reading this verbatim. We do have some. February 5th, 2013, closed session. Absent was Pat Walsh and John Madia. Mr. Ferranti, would you please move the closed session minutes?
I move to approve the February 5th, 2013 closed session minutes.
Second?
Second, thank you. Can we do it all in favor? No. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Correspondence, we have, how many pieces tonight? Usually I have this written down. Tonight we have 49 pieces of correspondence. Would anyone like to address any of the correspondence we received? Seeing none. First ordinance for public hearing. Ordinance number, hold on. I open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 2-2013, entitled, An Ordinance of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, setting the speed limit on Stevens State Park Road at 25 miles per hour from Smithtown Road to Sand Shore Road, to be incorporated into Chapter 245 of the Mount Olive Township Code. Mr. Franti, would you please move that?
I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 2-2013.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody from the public? Seeing none. Any council comments? Okay, seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
With reservations, yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Ready? Ordinance number 2002-2013 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. Next page. Okay. Ordinances for first reading. Second reading will be on March 5th, 2013. Ordinance number 3-2013, entitled, Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Mount Olive amending Chapter 48, Article 1, Section 48-14 of the Code of the Township of Mount Olive to establish the position of a Class II Special Officer. Mr. Nacastro, would you please move that ordinance?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I move ordinance number 3-2013 to be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and that a meeting be held on March 5th, 2013, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading, and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Second.
Thank you. Any council discussion? Anyone from the public? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. All righty, moving right along here. Ordinance number 4-2013. Bond ordinance providing for improvements to Dan Jordan Field in and by the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $36,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $34,200 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. Mr. Perkins is not here, so Mr. Roman.
I
Would
move
you
that
move that?
ordinance number 4-2013 be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and that a meeting be held on March 5th, 2013 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading, and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of law.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any council discussion? Seeing none. Anybody from the public? Okay, seeing none. Moving right along. We have our consent.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was moving a little too fast. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes, thank you. Resolutions. We have 10 resolutions on for this evening. Would anybody like to have any consent resolutions moved to non-consent? Mr. Roman,
I'd like to move number 4.
number 4. Any others? All right, seeing none. Mr. Roman, would you please move resolutions 1 through 3 and 5 through 10?
I make a motion to approve consent resolutions 1 through 3 and 5 through 10.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? Anybody from the public on the resolutions? All right, seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Roman, would you please move non-consent resolution number 4?
Before I do it, I just want to at least highlight as to the reason for moving number 4 to non-consent. This is by no means this resolution think that our first responders should not be properly covered by workers' compensation, and it is merely a resolution to control the possible cost to municipalities. I move for approval of non-consent resolution number 4.
Second?
Second?
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments, discussion? Anybody from the public? Oh, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes. All righty. And we have another non-consent, number 11. Mr. Ferrante, would you please move non-consent resolution number 11 for us, please?
I move non-consent resolution number 11.
Second?
Thank you. Mrs. Murphy's going to come up and we're going to have some discussion for us.
Kathy Murphy, resident.
Yes. Retired Mrs. Murphy.
Periodically, we're required to update our recreation open space inventory. And I have given you a list of the properties. There's only 6 that we are adding. This year, we're required to do that whenever we receive Green Acres funds for a purchase, and we have a purchase coming up with Mrs. Rousa. If you want, I can show you exactly where these are going to be. 3 of them are actually in, 3 of the lots are in the Morris Hunt development.
Thank you.
One lot is down in Clover Hill.
And one for attorney, too. Thank you.
The 3 lots in Morris Hunt have 2 large lots that were required as open space. They have been dedicated to a homeowners association. So on the Rossi list, we list it as dedicated open space, but we also make a notation it is not general public access. It belongs to the homeowners association. There's one other small lot in Morris Hunt that was acquired by the town. Down in Clover Hill, there's actually 1 lot that is next to Powerlines Park, which should have been donated many years ago from Clover Hill, and it was foreclosed on. It's underwater, and it's landlocked. But we do have access through Powerlines Park. And the other 2 lots are small acquisitions. The town used township open space funds to acquire, paying off a tax lien, and that's the Ergot properties. So those 6 small properties need to go on the list, and then we can close on the Rousa property, and we're good to go.
Very good.
Anybody have any questions on that?
Anybody have any questions? I just have one, Kathy. Do you by any chance know the total acreage of open space we have now?
We have just topped 2,300 acres.
Very good. I knew you'd know that.
Well, I have to do that as part of the RASA. You have to give them a total. You have to give them the list. I have the list. I have to give them a map, so I'll take the open space map that we had updated by the Land Conservancy a few years ago. I'll have them add these 6 on, then that map will get shipped down to Green Acres.
Good. Mr. Roman?
First off, Kathy, let me first congratulate you on your retirement and your many years of service to the township. What percentage of our township property is in open space?
I don't know the exact, I'm going to say it's probably about 1/3. When you add in what the state has preserved and the county, other open space trusts and township, it's probably almost 1/3.
Thank you.
And that includes the lake and the bog, et cetera. Okay,
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none?
thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. And could we have a roll call, please? Or anybody from the public? Okay, seeing none? Roll call, please.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes.
Mrs. Labow?
Yes. All righty. Consent motions. Mr. Fronte, would you please move the bill list? And we're also appointing Mr. Nacastro to the, it's misprint here, it's the Open Space Committee. He's already on the Economic Development Committee.
No, I'm not. That's on there.
Hmm?
No, you're mistaken.
That's correct.
What?
The economic development.
Economic development.
I thought you were already
I,
on.
no, I was the liaison, but now I'm on the committee.
Oh, you're going to be actually
Yeah,
on the
there was
committee.
an opening, yeah.
But didn't you also agree to be?
Yes, I did, but I didn't see it on here, so I wasn't sure.
Okay, so we can do
You
both.
We can do both.
That's fine.
Okay. So you're the liaison for economic and?
No.
Oh, you're appointed as a member, but we don't need to have a council liaison because he can wear both hats.
No, there is a council liaison, it's Ray Perkins.
Ray is.
Raise the, okay.
Right.
So we're going to
There's
have,
an opening on the Economic Development Committee. Joe has indicated desire to re-sit on that committee.
Oh,
It was
good.
run through council that it's not an issue in terms of appointing Joe as a local businessman, and you know, I'm not even sure that there's a requirement that you live in town to be appointed to the Economic Development Committee.
I agree. Yeah.
Notwithstanding,
Excellent.
Okay, just for clarification, he will be a member of the Economic Development Committee, but he's liaison to the open space.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what we're voting on the motions. Mr. Ferranti, would you move the motions as described a few minutes ago?
I move the bill list, and I move the appointment of Joe Nacastro to the Economic Development Committee and also as liaison to the Open Space Committee.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Any discussion from the public? Any questions on the bill list? No? Seeing none, a roll call, please.
Mr.
Yes.
Fronte?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Can I vote yes to vote? Yes.
Mr.
You can
Roman?
vote for yourself.
Yes.
Mrs. Labow?
Yes. Administrative reports. Mayor, and Mr. Kenning?
you can go first.
He outranks me, so he gets choice on pecking order. I just have two things. We're in the midst of our auctions of our surplus property. So far, the first week has been done. 9 of our vehicles, some of the surplus vehicles, high mileage vehicles, have gone off on auction. We're approaching $10,000 in miscellaneous revenue not anticipated coming in, so it's been a success. We are slowly catching up with our fleet of vehicles that have been replaced. We anticipate in March another round. After that, I'll provide council with a complete breakdown of the 2013 auctions. But the first round was very favorable. We just had another one sell today for $1,400 for a 2003 Crown Victoria. Very high mileage, 144,000 miles on it, and some minor mechanical issues, which is understandable after that amount of mileage. We have computers on there this week. That'll be ending this week. Some electronic, excess electronic gear. Again, over the years, surplus is built up around here. We're slowly trying to just whittle it down and trying to make some useful revenue out of properties just been sitting there in excess.
Mr. Roman?
Mr. Kenning, is the auction site, is that available to the public?
Yeah, we advertise it. As a matter of fact, it's on our website. We go out to public advertisement. Under New Jersey law, we put out a public ad. It's not less than 7 nor more than 14 days in advance of the auction, and it's our dealers, govdeals.com, which is a New Jersey approved auction site, so that's what we always use.
Yeah, I mean, I congratulate you on going forward and getting rid of our surplus and getting money for it. I'm just somewhat dismayed that 9 vehicles for $10,000, about $1,000 a piece, but neither here nor there.
Considering the shape of them, I'm ecstatic.
You know what, unfortunately, the marketplace now that vehicles such as those generally go for more, but.
I will disagree, but. So that's it for our auction. We feel it's going very well. The second part is the white trails. We've had some initial success getting some trail markers up. We went on a expedition the other day to identify the northern leg and how much damage and debris we have across those trails from Hurricane Sandy. We're intent on cleaning that up, and our initial goal is to have a substantial portion of this cleared by Friday and hopefully advertised for at least a white trail, which is the main trunk for hiking, and it's about a 3-mile stretch that we hope to have clear and available for recreational use. And every week we have a lot of projects going on. We're going to try to get as much done as we can by spring so the public can use these, and we'll get the GPS markers on them and get them up on the web even more for publication.
I was leading into that question. When do you anticipate that those trails will be available via a more interactive manner on the website?
If we can GPS the white trail, maybe by the end of this week. But yeah, we're going to try to make steady progress before mid-March to late March, when they really, the weather breaks, and we're really hoping to make this an integral part this spring of Mount Olive Township.
Thank you.
Mr. Roman, did you know that the open space tab on the website has the complete master plan and maps of all of them? I'm not sure if anybody's aware of that.
Yeah, I think
Did you see
I
it?
think that's something that we should definitely highlight a little bit more, because it takes a little bit of doing just to get into that part of the site.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a good point. If we could have that a little easier to get to, because we're talking a lot about the trails, and it would be nice if we had like an icon right on the front page you could just click instead of having to flip through.
I think that's a good idea, and I think you're correct. Yeah, we can get that on there.
Yeah, because it's really great information that people should have more readily available.
I want to thank Kathy Murphy, who did a lot of tireless work over the years of trying to, obtain easements and access to these trails, and worked with the various committees. And this is the final stage, so we get to crow about it a little bit now. But there was a lot of legwork that went in trying to create this entire trail system.
Yes, excellent. Mayor.
Yeah, we have a couple of events that I want to highlight that are coming up. That's Amore Thursday night at Enzo's Pizzeria and Restaurant right here on Route 46. Cabin Fever Reliever Saturday at the Senior Center from 10 to 1, showcasing many programs we offer through the rec department. Also, I understand this week there will be a Morris County Championship basketball team Saturday night, 7 o'clock at County College of Morris, where Mount Olive men's basketball team has made it to the finals for the second year in a row.
Wow.
And that's at 7 o'clock, and I understand that hockey, the Mount Olive hockey team is playing for the Haas Cup Thursday night. I believe that's probably at Menin Arena. I don't know the time. It's been a very successful year for our high school sports the winter season. All of the sports seem to have done very well. And just finally, although I don't want to dwell on it, condolences to the family, the loss yesterday, and the heroic efforts of our police department and our volunteer ambulance and rescue squads. And we will address all of the issues related to the fire at some point down the road after we've had a chance to digest both the positives and the negatives in terms of what we can do to better protect the residents of Mount Olive.
Thank you.
My understanding is that the hockey is Wednesday night. not
Wednesday.
Thursday night.
Okay. Very good. Now we're up to old business. Seeing none. New business. Seeing none. Legal matters. Jeff?
Just two quick items. Jeff Pasek of Dorsey and Semrau. First off, with respect to the solar project at the former landfill site, we have an agreement to lease the site for a solar project. We are awaiting the developer to complete their due diligence, and they have since proposed an amendment to the contract. The second quick item was just to echo the thoughts of Alex. Our entire office wants to congratulate Kathy Murphy on her retirement. We have worked on countless closings and land acquisitions, and her enthusiasm is something we'll also remember and thank her and wish her well in her future endeavors.
Jeff, what changes to the contract?
From my understanding is that the developer wants additional time to complete due diligence.
And how much time is he requesting?
At this point, I'm not positive, but we can report back at the next council meeting.
Mayor?
Do you perceive that this project is going to be going forward?
As far as we know, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Mayor, do you have any information on that, or?
I think the original due diligence period was supposed to end this June. During their initial due diligence period, there were some issues that were identified with respect to the landfill cap that needed further analysis and further work in terms of who was going to take responsibility for the current environmental issues at the site, should they go forward. There have been negotiations or at least discussions with the DEP, and ultimately those issues remain unresolved, which required the additional period in terms of everyone moving forward very cautiously to avoid any potential long-term liability at the site.
Certainly is reasonable. Alrighty, council reports. Mr. Ferrante, would you give your reports for all of your committees?
Lake, we actually have a meeting next month, and just for the library, they've been having some difficulties with their telephones lately. Right now, I think they're working off of a fax number as a telephone, and they're hoping to get everything resolved soon.
Do they know what's causing it? Was it storm weather related, or?
No, I think it was just faulty equipment from Verizon.
Really, after all this? Interesting. And with the environment, or the lake committee, have they talked, do you know what we're doing with the lake this year for treatment?
I don't know right now. As you know, Dave
Right.
has resigned, so we're looking still for a replacement for him. I think that's going to be discussed at the next meeting.
Mayor, do
We
you?
can give you an update. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, there's an RFQ. Dave had worked closely with us about the update in the RFQ. We're getting quotes. It's the treatment level we anticipate to be about $13,000, for significantly lower than it had been in the
Right.
past. And what we have right now is a quote going out to three companies, one of which had our contract last year, and two others. We're awaiting them, and as soon as I get them in, I'll share them with the Lake Committee and Councilman Ferrante.
And is that still the treatment for the curly pond weed and the, what's the other one called? The,
Very rude.
yeah.
So is it? I'm not
The
sure.
two-
I know it covers whatever.
The
green stuff.
Yeah,
Whatever,
that green
whatever,
stuff.
aquatic,
Milfoil and curly pond
There
weed.
we go.
I knew I'd think of it eventually. So, will they be able to tell us, like, how much of a decrease we've had so far? Because it was, like, massively invaded before.
Well, our one consultant does actively inspect. Matter of fact, when we had a significant problem, I believe in July, they were right on top of it. There was some white type of algae or something that was cropping up in July. Within 48 hours, they had it treated. We had proper spot-on advisement. So it's significantly less than it was a couple of years ago. Our consultant is active on that lake. I don't know if we can get any metrics as to what it was 3 years ago compared to now, but
Okay.
if it's reflective of the price, it's far better.
Yeah, as I
Definitely
understand.
moving in the right direction.
Yeah, as I understand it, the price has a lot to do with how much treatment. Alrighty, we have Mr. Nacastro,
Nothing to report.
okay, and Mr. Roman.
I have nothing to report in either recreation or Board of Ed.
Alrighty, and for TNR, we're having a fundraiser Thursday night at the Vasa Park Clubhouse. Starts at 5 o'clock, goes on till 8. And so before you go to the, what's it called, Miyamori at Dino's? No, Enzo's, I'm sorry.
That's amore.
You got the curly route right, but you can't get out.
Can't get the right pizzeria. So you can go over to the clubhouse at Vasa Park and go right down the street to Enzo's and enjoy a nice meal. Alrighty. Open the meeting to our public. Anybody from the public like to come up and speak this evening? No? Nothing? Nobody? Okay, close the meeting to the public and council comments. Mr. Ferrante.
I'd just like to extend my condolences to the families involved in the tragedy yesterday. Also like to wish, although he's not here today, Mr. Walsh luck in his new endeavors. He will be missed. He was instrumental to me. I'm going to miss my conversations and his guidance, and just wish him and his family good luck. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to also wish send my condolences and prayers out to the family. I knew one of the people indirectly through the family members, like a lot of people did, and my prayers are with them. I'd also like to thank Kathy as well. I know she's retiring somewhat, but she's still here, and all the work she's done for the township, as well as Pat Walsh. He was a good friend, and I'm sure we'll be in touch with him, and I wish him well with his new venture.
Absolutely. Mr. Roman.
Needless to say, my deepest condolences to the families that perished in the fire in Flanders. I mean, hopefully this is just the end to the current spate of bad news that has befallen our township. And also, congratulations again to Miss Murphy. It's going to be definitely hard to replace her and the effort she's done into acquiring and maintaining some of our open space, and as was earlier said, it's a third of our township is dedicated to open space, and it's much to credit to not only her work but previous administrations and councils. And to Mr. Walsh, probably the person on this council that I have disagreed with the most, but he has definitely contributed in his tenure here, not only through through deeds and words, but also through actions. And I wish him nothing but the best of luck in the rest of his life, work rise, and hopefully he'll pick back up politics wherever he plants his new roots. Thank you.
Thank you. I too would like to send out my condolences to the family of the traumatic loss, and certainly I know the little girl, she has a long road ahead of her, and certainly hope that she's going to, she'll have a lot of love and support, and hopefully she'll have a very speedy recovery, as well as the family would emotionally try to make sense of what happened, and not only that, the whole entire community over there. It's a very close-knit community. Old Flanders there, and it's just absolutely devastating for everybody involved. And it's also remarkable. There was a lot of heroic efforts yesterday, including the stepfather who was already out of the house and ran back in to save the children and lost his own life. And he is a wonderful man. Many of us know him from Dunkin' Donuts, always friendly, smiling, happy, and it's just a very tragic loss for our entire town. And I would also like to thank Mrs. Murphy. Wonderful job, and I know that she's still going to be there helping out and taking care of our open space and wherever she can, and enjoying her grandson, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. And for Mr. Walsh, he's a dear friend. I absolutely adore Pat. And to Mr. Roman's comment, I think it's really good that we don't all agree, and we all have different points of view. And I have found that when we do have a disagreement, we'll respectfully debate back and forth. And that's a very good thing. We shouldn't always agree all the time. And this evening, Mr. Roman chose to vote for the speed limit reduction ordinance because next meeting was going to be passed anyway. Why belabor the point? And I think we can all agree at one point or another, while we might not be totally in agreement with something, sometimes you save the further arguments or whatever for something that has a lot more impact. And sometimes we just have to do that. You have to pick and choose. And but much as Mr. McDonald said, sometimes it's not always good to have to pick and choose, but sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture. And without further ado, I would like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And we are finished for this evening. Thank you.